Welcome back to another edition of Music Monday from the podcast Nurture the Mind. I am your host, Cole Poots, and we have yet again another music reaction. And today we are going to be getting into Jelly Roll. He just released a new album called Beautifully Broken, in parentheses, Picking Up the Pieces. Eventually, I will get to all the songs in this album, but for the reaction purposes, for the video purposes, there's really two songs. When I looked at the track list, first off, there's two songs that I'm really curious to listen to. And it's really because of their features. Not saying I don't want to hear Jelly Roll. I like Jelly Roll. I like what he's about. Not one of my favorite artists, but I like the guy. I like his story. I think he's a great dude. But I want to see how he meshes with Wiz Khalifa. So that's the first song that we're going to listen to, called Higher Than Heaven. And then I want to see the feature with Mgk. That song is called Time of Day. And obviously, before that, we had Lonely Road, which was Mgk and Jelly Roll, and that's a great song. I love that song. I listened to it the first time and I wasn't keen on it, and then the more and more I listened to it, it really grew on me. And I know it's kind of somewhat of a cover of an older song, but I think they kind of gave their own flair to it. And it's a beautiful song. It's beautifully crafted. I watched a little bit of the interview that Mgk did where he was interviewing Jelly Roll about his success and his new upcoming album. And that was really interesting to see those two artists kind of connect and talk with one another. So yeah, there's two songs that I'm going to check out today. I guess if we get through them pretty quick, I might go jam out to Lonely Road just for the video, but mainly just want to cover those two. And then, like I said, at some point I will get through the entire track list so I see how the entire album sounds. But it's a long album. I mean, this dude constructed 28 songs on this album, and the runtime of the album is 1 hour and 23 minutes. And I don't know if you guys are like me, but when I'm listening to a project, a whole ass album, what I like to do, what I try to do, is go from track one all the way to the finishing track without interruptions, because I just want to see how it all sounds together. So yeah, without further ado, I've done, I believe, one reaction of Jelly Roll on this channel, and I liked that song. Again, I can't say he's like my favorite artist, but I really like his message. I really like his story. I like how he's overcome those things. You know, you got to really root for a guy like this and feel good for a guy that is now having this success. And, you know, he's on top of the world. He's the biggest that he's ever been in his career. And so it's just a testament, you know, to the human spirit to be able to persevere through hard times or whatever it is that you're going through. You know, you can always overcome that thing and strive for success. And that's what's really cool about Jelly Roll, because that's exactly what he has done. Yeah, let's just get into it, man. I really don't want to do any more talking. Again, I'm really interested about these features because I grew up listening to Wiz Khalifa in high school, and same thing with Mgk. Two really good artists in their own right. So how are they going to mesh with a country artist like Jelly Roll? Although he is in the country category, I feel like Jelly Roll does some other things, and I know in his past he was a little bit of a rapper, maybe a hip-hop artist. So yeah, dude, here we go. First song, Higher Than Heaven, Jelly Roll, Wiz Khalifa, off of the album Beautifully Broken, Picking Up the Pieces.
It's my way out of the darkness. Smoke in my lungs, I can breathe. Some days, these days get too hard, and this world ain't where I wanna be. So I roll up my problems. I know it ain't gonna solve them. Light them up in a flame. Let it take me there where I don't feel a thing. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Wow. That was an intro. I love his voice, dude.
Wake up, wake up, roll one, another drag, another pull, another bag, and it's full.
Here's Wiz.
Last one to do it, gotta pass it to get through it.
Oh.
Too fast when they move it, I can be sober to do shit so high.
Wow.
Higher than heaven, higher than heaven, too high for myself. Oh, 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 higher than heaven, higher than heaven, when I'm hurting like no loss in my soul, no tears down my face. Yeah, up there alone, it all fades away when I get higher than heaven, higher than heaven, too high for myself.
Wow.
Oh, I get higher than heaven, higher than heaven, when I'm hurting like hell. It's my way out of the darkness, smoking my lungs I can breathe.
All right, that was a quick hitter at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, but a really, really good track. I don't know if Jelly Roll was intending for that song to be emotional, but it kind of made me emotional a little bit. Wasn't sure if tears were going to formulate and roll down my face. So they're talking about smoking weed. And of course, if you're going to make a song talking about smoking weed, who are you going to bring in as an artist to aid you? Wiz Khalifa. That's all he does is smoke, pounds of weed per day. Wiz Khalifa's verse was so short, so I really didn't catch much of what he said, but it was cool. It was cool because he had flows in the country song, and you could hear in the instrumentation that it became a little bit more upbeat to aid him. It was a beautifully constructed song with the instrumentation, the lyrics. It doesn't seem like it's going that far in depth. To me, it's more so kind of right on the nose, right on the surface, not really hard to read into. Jelly Roll saying that, I'm getting higher than heaven. This is how I find my way out of the dark. I'm inhaling this smoke into my lungs, and now I can breathe. I get high in order to hide from myself. That was the line that kind of hit me. People will use that as a vice, or they will use that as an agent to essentially numb themselves. And I've heard so many songs that talk about the same thing, smoking weed, getting high to avoid problems. I don't know if that's what he's alluding to in this song, maybe a little bit of that, but also a reason why people turn back to weed and to pot is the feeling that they get, the escape that they get, even if it's only for a moment, even if the feeling only lasts for a moment, it takes them away from their current state of mind, whether if that's something like they're experiencing depression, frustration, anger, guilt, or they're going through some type of anxiety, or there's a lot of stress that's going on in their life. Smoking weed can be that thing, that agent to kind of lift them out of that space, even if it's only temporary. When they come down from that high, when they're not high anymore, then they got to face the trivialities and the realities of life. I don't have anything against weed. I've talked about it on the channel before. I used to smoke weed, and it was amazing when I first started. I started smoking when I was 19, and I think I did it until I was about 23. And I would say, okay, so 4 years. The first 3 years that I was smoking, fantastic time with the specimen, the drug, I guess, if you'll call it, recreational drug, because I don't necessarily look at it as a drug. I don't think it should be demonized in the way that it is by the hands of our government and these corrupt politicians. But I digress. Nonetheless, it used to have a really profoundly good impact on me. It made me feel great. And then roughly the last year that I was smoking, going through a lot mentally, anxiety-wise, OCD-wise, also things that I've talked about on the channel. And that's where, pot and weed, marijuana started to kind of like turn on me in a very negative way, to the point where it was like most of the time when I was smoking, I would get anxiety attacks, I would get panic attacks. One of the last few times that I did it, it actually made me physically ill, physically sick. And so I made a choice in 2020, actually in the midst of the pandemic. I remember that was the last time that I did it. I told myself, this is not fun. I'm not enjoying this. I can't do this anymore. And it was a hard thing to give up. I mean, it was the right decision at that time, for sure. But I do miss those days where it, really helped me. It calmed me. I just remember, a lot of times I would do it with my friends, but even, when I was still living at my parents' house, like I would be up in my room, and if it was nice out, especially, I would open up the windows, and I had my little pipe, and I would just take hits, and I would exhale the smoke out of the window, and I'd just be up there, just in a great state of mind, fucking having some snacks, watching Jersey Shore, reruns of Jersey Shore, and just like laughing my ass off. And I miss those times, man. I miss when it had that impact on me. I don't know if I could ever go back. I think, just because of how my brain is wired, I would probably start to smoke or something. And then I would probably, now that I have this negative association in my head, I would think that it's going to make me anxious, when in reality, it's probably my mind making me anxious. And so that would happen like right before I'll smoke. And then, you're not going to have a good experience. You're not going to have a good trip. So I don't know. I mean, you never know what the future holds. Like if I felt really good mentally, maybe I would give it a shot again. But it's like where I'm at now, like I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke weed. I've never done hard drugs, never taken acid, never done coke, like none of that shit. I've, jokingly said before in conversations, but also on the channel is like, my only, I guess, one of my bigger vices of putting, substances into my brain is caffeine, whether it comes from coffee or energy drinks. But yeah, just giving you guys a little bit of my experience. That was just, I don't know how to categorize it. I don't know if he meant for that song to be emotional, but it felt emotional a little bit with the instrumentation and accompanied by his lyrics. I don't remember what Wiz said. I don't think Wiz's verse was as serious, because Wiz definitely embraces being a pothead and smoking on a regular basis. But Jelly Roll, as with many humans, sometimes I think everything is good in moderation. That's why I say, like, I'm not against pot. Just be careful with it, right? Like, don't use it all the fucking time to escape life and reality. That would be my advice, because at some point, inevitably, you do have to come down and you do have to deal with things and you have to solve problems. So I don't know. It's hard on that one. I don't know which avenue he's taking it, but definitely some powerful lines in there. Higher than heaven, and this is where I go to hide from myself. And I think we can all relate to that, even if you're not using substances, if you're not drinking alcohol. I mean, I think every human has kind of struggled with that from time to time. I know I have, where you're afraid to admit certain things to yourself. So you sugarcoat things, you cover up the truth, because that's easier, right? It's easier to live in this false, fantasy world where you pretend like everything is okay, everything is fine and dandy, but you're really not helping yourself. You're really not serving yourself, because what would help in that situation is you telling yourself the brutal, honest truth in order to get over the hurdle. And I think just in general, people have a hard time doing that. They're afraid to do that. They don't want to look into the closet. They don't want to look into their demons, into that dark side. And so, if anything, this song is just highlighting, the human condition and how we all try to avoid ourselves. we all try to stay out of the shadows and avoid the dark things, the dark realities that we should face that would ultimately help us get a whole hell of a lot better. And I like the metaphors and whatnot, like higher than heaven, because when you're smoking and you're in that state of euphoria, as I just listed before, you feel like you're in heaven. I remember, again, speaking to the times when weed was of a benefit for me. It is this like euphoric rush. You could be just like I highlighted, you could be doing the most simplest thing of like sitting at home, having the munchies, snacking on a bunch of snacks, watching Jersey Shore, some stupid TV show, or listening to music. But because you're under the influence of marijuana, I remember feeling a lot of times, you feel like you're kind of floating in the clouds, it's just like everything is kind of hitting you and you're just like taking it in. Your senses in a lot of ways are just elevated. And that's why, again, with that thing, man, it's just kind of hit or miss, right? Because in that state, it's amazing. But if your senses are elevated and that thing turns on you, that's where the anxiety and the paranoia really get ramped up. I'm sure a lot of people that still smoke weed to this day still like using it. I'm sure you guys can relate. You probably have all had some bad trips where you were super anxious or super paranoid or thought something bad was going to happen. And that's just kind of that dichotomy and that polarization of, Mary Jane, marijuana. There's really two different effects that you can reach when you're smoking it. So got to make sure it's in balance. But anyways, a lot of talking for a short song. I just really enjoyed that one, man. So now we got our second one with Mgk, and it is called Time of Day. A little bit longer, 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Let's go check that one out.
Yeah. Cause even a spotlight or a movie couldn't show the side that I've been hiding lately. And lately they say the old me's not the new me, but the same me still inside, and I'm containing, unchain me. And I don't cry like I used to.
Y'all are trying to make me cry. Piano.
Cause I don't think I deserve the time of day. Listen, I'm sorry, since you saw me, I've sawed through bones, took my heart out my body. Have you forgotten me? Cause I'm longing for the times when time was non-existent. Lives go by, I envision. Combine our lives with 2-word sentence. You said I do, but I did not listen. I don't cry like I used to.
Chills, bro. Chills. Goosebumps.
Cross I bear, I wear for my protection, wear for my protection. Surrendered and I'm searching for connection, searching for connection. I barely recognize my own reflection. It's my own reflection. Cause all I ever wanted was acceptance. I fear rejection.
Don't we all? Don't we all fear rejection?
Cause I know these tears don't wash my sins away. And I don't pray like I used to. Cause I don't think I
All right, time of day. Yeah, that one was definitely emotional. Gets you in your feels. Very relatable to the human experience. Both men being extremely vulnerable on that song. I didn't catch all of the lyrics, but essentially Jelly Roll saying that like he doesn't cry like he used to. The tears cannot wash away his sins. I don't pray like I used to. I don't think I deserve the time of day for God to listen to me because I have been such a bad person. I have been a sinner. I have not been living the best life. I don't recognize myself when I look at my own reflection. It's a very introspective track. There was a line from Mgk that hit really deep, and I don't remember the exact specific line, so I'm paraphrasing right now from what he said. I'm going to butcher it a little bit. But he said something to the effect of like longing for those days when you didn't really care about time. Like you weren't really focused on time. Makes me think of like when I was a kid, when I was in middle school, when I was growing up, even in high school and early years of college, as I've talked about on this channel, probably up until the point of being 24 for me, time was a lot slower. Time wasn't necessarily of the essence. It didn't feel like, you weren't concerned with it. You were just going about your business. You were going about your life, especially as a kid. I don't know. You don't even really think about getting older. You're too preoccupied with being a kid and being in a moment. I think that's why those years just felt so much more long. Like a month back then to me felt like 6 months. Whereas as an adult, a month goes by and you're like, how, what, where? It feels like it was just like a week or something. And so your perspective completely changes. And I think part of it, at least here in America and the current culture that we have, is it's predicated on this notion that you have to go out and you have to work and you have to sacrifice all of your time, full-time job, got to pay the bills, got to pay off my debt. And that's what doesn't allow us to be childlike anymore and just kind of go out and explore and do our own thing. And I understand, it's different as you get older, but I'm just saying, like, I think some of those things, these norms that we've accepted, I think we should probably rethink those things because you just hear it from a ton of adults. And now I'm admitting to myself, like, it's so easy to lose time, like I'm 27 and then like I hear people that are like 60 or 70 and they're so I say something like that, I'm like, where's all the time gone? And they're like, hey, just wait, it only ramps up as you get older. You're gonna be 60 one day like me and you're gonna be looking back and you're gonna say, man, I remember 27 like it was yesterday. How did all of these years pass? So I'm kind of scared about that. I truly am scared, and it's been one of the bigger adjustments as I've gotten older is just adjusting to time, our perception of time and how it's passing. And so that was a powerful line from Mgk. But yeah, this song is deeply emotional, extremely vulnerable, confessing the fact that they have made sense, that they're not perfect people. Jelly Roll really feeling like, hey, I can't even sit down right now and have a conversation with God and pray because I don't think I deserve to be accepted right now or even acknowledged. And I'm sure, again, I think this is why Jelly Roll, and maybe even you could put Mgk in this category, why they're so relatable to a lot of people and why they have such a strong fan base is this is relatable content to, again, the human experience, because I think all of us have been through moments in our lives where we felt this way. None of us are perfect. You could never be perfect, even if you wanted to try. We all sin, even if you're not a firm believer in Christ and the devil, and that there's a place called heaven and there's a place called hell. We all make terrible mistakes. We all fuck up from time to time. We're imperfect at our core. And we have many, many vulnerabilities, whether it be to our mental, to our emotions, the insecurities that we have, whether it be something physical or even something that could attack our spirituality. And if you choose to be like a religious person, or even if you think about the universe and certain things like that, I think all of those things align, and we can be attacked in so many different ways. And so this duo right here, which I think they have become really good friends over the years, it's just amazing to listen to these guys as they collaborate. And I thoroughly enjoyed both of those songs. Definitely got emotional for both of those songs. I think that Jelly Roll has an amazing voice. It's easy to listen to him. It's very comforting in a lot of ways, just by the sound. You know, he's a big old guy, and you think that this big old like burly voice, and maybe be a little bit fucking rough around the edges, which he is a little rough around the edges. You know, you see all the tattoos and whatnot, and his stature and how big he is. But his voice is very comforting. It makes you just want to kind of like lay down and put your head on a pillow. I mean, how many times can we count throughout this reaction, you know, during these two songs, where I closed my eyes and just tried to, you know, really embrace his voice, because it's very, dare I say, angelic. There's just some type of comfort to it that you can't really put your fingers on or explain. So yeah, man, I thoroughly enjoyed both of those songs. Had a great time listening to them. We're gonna duck out. I said maybe if it was short, I was gonna go jam out to Lonely Road, but I've already listened to it, so it wouldn't be a first reaction. So I'm just gonna cut it off right there. I think I've spent enough time speaking with you guys, hanging out with you guys. So as we part ways here, as always, there's 4 things that I ask that you guys do. Number 1 would be to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And number 2 would be like the video over here on YouTube. And then number 3, please comment in the comment section below, you know, talking about your experience with these 2 artists. If you got suggestions of music that you want me to check out, or really just creating a conversation and telling me about, you know, your story and how you got into these artists. I always enjoy reading the comments, even if I'm not able to respond and acknowledge everybody. You know, I try to read all of the comments, and usually I get to all of them. And the 4th thing would be, especially if you guys thought this was entertaining, or you thought it was valuable, you thought I had a good take, if you think you learned something, basically, if it wasn't a waste of your time, if you thought it was valuable, please share the message. You know, you can share this on social media, or you could talk about it with people in person, so word of mouth. Anyway, just find a way to spread it out there. So this channel, this podcast, all of these things can grow. And then lastly, as a first form Legionnaire, I always talk about it before we go. Being a Legionnaire for first form, I use a lot of their supplements. They have really helped me in a lot of ways, and I think that they can help you guys too. So I always put the links down in the comment, down in the description below. If you guys are interested in any of the products that I take, so those are the ones that I list, you can go there, or you can go to the general website link, which has the entire inventory of their products. I put it out there. I get commission if you guys go purchase a supplement. That's not necessarily why I do it. I just really believe in the brand, in their company, what they're focused on: health, wellness, fitness, but also they're a company from Missouri, so just south of Iowa, where I live. They're in the Midwest, and they're an American first company. That is my beliefs. That is my value systems right there. And I want to support companies like that. And plus, they do a really good job. I think they're the best supplement company out there in the world right now. So if you guys want any of their products, go check out some of those links. But guys, I got to get out of here. It's Saturday. I got to watch some football. I got some plans later on throughout the day. I love you guys. Thanks for coming over and hanging out. As always, take care.